morning, my friends. Good morning. Good morning. How is everyone today? My name is Debbie. Welcome to my channel. Good morning, my friends. I forgot to mute myself. I am so sorry. Today we are continuing with I forgot his name for a second. Phil Spector murder trial. He was, I can't talk today. Oh my goodness. I've only had one cup of coffee. Not even a whole cup of coffee. Almost a whole cup of coffee. He was accused of unaliving an up-and-coming actress named Lana Clarkson in 2003. His trial was in 2007. And the witness we are on, my wonderful mod, Judy, has put a little rundown in the chat. His name is Dr. DeMaio. Dr. DeMaio was a veteran of the U.S. Army Medical Corps and served as a chief medical examiner of San Antonio, Texas. He retired in 2006. Dr. DeMaio had more than 40 years' experience as a forensic pathologist. DeMaio gave expert testimony in a number of high-profile trials, including the exhumation of Lee Harvey Oswald, and provided his opinion on the death of Vincent van Gogh. I did not know that. Wow, the exhumation of Lee Harvey Oswald. Wow. He definitely is an expert then, even though he's coming off as kind of oafish on the stand. DeMaio died of complications from the panda at his home in San Antonio on September 18, 2022, at the age of 81. So, and I have nicknamed him Mr. Eyebrows because, and not disrespectfully, although it may seem that way, that's just the first thing that struck me about the man, and that is how my ADHD brain works. Because when I first became a nurse, I worked in a nursing home, and in a nursing home, you have the same patients every day because that's their home. That's where they live. So when I got my little report sheet that had the room numbers, I would write their names in, and to learn them, I would put like a characteristic, like always wears a red hat or has droopy eyes or whatever. And that is how I learned people's names. So I have a habit, maybe a bad habit. What is my hair doing? Maybe a bad habit, I don't know, of looking at people and picking out a characteristic. So that's why I call him Mr. Eyebrows. So I'm not trying to be disrespectful. That's just how my brain works. So to me, he's Mr. Eyebrows. So he is still being crossed by Mr. Alan Jackson. I was thinking he was taken out of order, but now I'm thinking I can't remember. We've been doing this for, what part are we on, Judy? 51? We've been doing this for 51 days. So I've forgotten. I was thinking they took him out of order, but we might actually be on the defense's case in chief. I've forgotten. We've been at this so long now. So Alan Jackson, who's the prosecutor in this case, is still cross-examining Dr. DeMaio. And I don't know if we will get through this. This is like an hour and 44 minutes, this section on Court TV. So I don't know if we will get through the whole thing before we go on to the Karen Reed trial this morning. But we're going to get through as much of it as we can before then. And of course, I'm going to turn my camera off because StreamYard is jealous of my beauty and will not work right if I'm on camera. So we're going to get rid of me and then put up the court feed.
Alternates are present. The witness is present, still under oath, and you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dr. DeMaio, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining us again. I think when we last left off last night or yesterday afternoon, I had asked you about...
I'm not muted. I'm not muted. I don't know why you can't hear me. Because I am not muted. I will turn my mic up some more. Well, everything looks good from my side. So I don't know why.
One passage in your report, I believe it was on the second page, second to the last paragraph, where you indicated in the coroner's file, mention was better on the hand.
That's weird, Judy. Because for once, everything is perfect on my end. Try reloading it. I don't know why I just turned my camera back on.
Hands of Miss Clarkson. And you go on to describe that a bit. And then you go on to say, as to the subject of backspatter in general,
I'll reload it, but okay, I reloaded it. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now, Judy? I reloaded it. Everything looks good from this side. Are you sure it's not your laptop? Well, it says that my microphone is working. Test. Test, test, test. Yep, microphone's working.
and I had asked you if, wasn't it true, earlier in our absence, or what you consider to be absence of back spatter on Mr. Spector's jacket, and you did think that was consistent. Do you remember that?
Did think it was, yes. You have to check. You have.
So when you got to Miss Clarkson's hands, and there.
Okay, my lurkers. I need to know if you can hear me. I know you don't chat, but can you hear me? Can you hear the court?
There was not to use your word, a copious amount of blood on her hands in the form of back spatter. You indicated that's not significant. Only its presence would be significant, correct?
Yes, sir.
But when it came to Mr. Spector's jacket, you indicated that the absence of back spatter, in your opinion, was significant, correct?
Yes, because you're comparing the two things. One has back spatter and one doesn't have back spatter. And you're not considering it isolated in a vacuum.
So is it your testimony that, well, let me ask it this way. Isn't it true that in your mind, if it benefits Mr. Spector to say that the back spatter is significant, you'll say that. If it benefits Mr. Spector to say the back spatter is insignificant, you'll say that, depending on which way it benefits Mr. Spector, your client.
No, sir. What I'm pointing out is that when you consider all aspects of the case, the intraoral wound, the back spatter, the gunshot residue, and the tissue, then this indicates that the gun was in the hand of Miss Clarkson. And there's no other evidence that it was in any other person's hand, and there's no evidence that it was in Mr. Spector's hand.
And of course, you indicated that, well, by the way, there's no evidence that it was in Ms. Clarkson's hands either.
Yes, sir, there is.
In your opinion, what is that evidence?
The evidence is very simple. This is an intraoral gunshot wound. There is back spatter on both her hands. There's copious gunshot residue on both hands. There is tissue on both arms. And then when you assemble all.
Well, poo. Jennifer, yay. Jennifer, can you hear me? Jennifer. Jen, can you hear me? Because we're apparently having some tech issues this morning. Either that or Judy has gone deaf. You can hear me?
All of these facts, you put them together. This indicates that she had the weapon in her hand, and there's no evidence.
Can you hear the court?
That anyone else had a weapon in their hand.
You said that the first thing out of your mouth, once again, when talking about what your opinion is based on, is the fact of the statistic of intraoral gunshot wounds and the fact of oral gunshot wounds. Correct?
I think you don't understand how physicians work. When a person comes in with a fever,
Objection. This is not responsive, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Was the first thing you said intraoral gunshot wound, and therefore that plays into your opinion that she was holding the gun?
yes, sir, because
Okay, and
yes, sir.
If only yes or no, if it can.
in your mind, once again, you're basing your opinion objective, scientific evidence, correct? Those three words are what you said.
Yes, sir.
The hallmark of a
Well, now I don't have sound because StreamYard decided to mute me again. Dang it. We got all that fixed. And then StreamYard decided, nope. Thank you, StreamYard. StreamYard is gaslighting me this morning. That's what
was the backspatter on her hand was significant in your mind in putting the gun in her hand, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yet there was backspatter on Mr. Spector's jacket, correct?
Yes. So large backspatter, there was no misting on his jacket.
There was actually not a criminalist, correct?
No, but I saw the particles, I saw their size, and I was standing next to Mr. Kish and Mr. James and Dr. Lee when
Jill, look what I got yesterday. Oh, my camera's not on. Look, pretty.
they said there was no misting. In addition, the distribution of the blood is from the almost the top of the jacket to the lower portion of the jacket. You don't get this in misting. Misting, small particles over a small concentrated area.
And didn't you tell us that you are not, in fact, a backspatter expert?
No, sir. I did not say that. I said that I did not do interpretation of backspatter off the bodies. I said my interest in is the backspatter coming from the body until it stops. And then everything else with the calculations and math and figuring out angles and such, I don't do.
And Dr. DeMaio, the calculation on the jacket is something that a backspatter analyst would be left to do, correct?
No, sir, because we're not calculating anything. You're just looking at it visually.
Doctor, isn't it true?
Wait, you're cutting him off before answering.
I apologize, John.
And the thing is you're going by size. And one of the things that you pointed out, what I pointed out, there are standards in in autopsy. And one of the things you're supposed to do is locate and measure. And so if you locate and measure, this is not mist-like stains. It doesn't meet the criteria.
And of course, the forensic scientist, the PhD, Dr. Lynn Harrell, who is in fact a member of the National Association of Backspatter Analysts, which you are not a member of, correct?
That's correct.
Argumentative.
Overruled. He hadn't even finished his question yet, I don't think.
You are in fact not a member of that organization, correct?
That's correct.
She's been taking classes on backspatter analysis and backspatter calculations since 1983, which you have not, correct?
I tend to agree. This is now just, if you have a question, go ahead and get to it.
Sure. You heard the testimony of Dr. Lynn Harrell, PhD, who is in fact a backspatter analyst, correct?
I heard something.
And she defined this sub-millimeter particulate matter that was on Mr. Spector's jacket as misting-like or mist-like backspatter, correct?
Yes, sir, but I also know she took the courses from Mr. James, who was her instructor, who says it's not mist-like and disagrees with her.
Doctor, I'm not asking you what someone else said, who's also being paid by the defendant. I'm asking you what your opinion is.
Sustained. The question is stricken. You may rephrase it.
Thank you. And yesterday, by the way, you said in your opinion, that's based solely on the Carter paper, that backspatter can travel up to 6 feet, correct?
No.
All right.
The answer is no, sir.
All right.
The answer will stand.
Did you indicate that backspatter, in your opinion, in your professional opinion as an expert, backspatter can travel up to 6 feet?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
But all you have to do is go to the scene and you'll see it.
All right. If in fact it can travel 6 feet, it can travel 5 feet, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it can travel 4 feet.
Yes, sir.
And it can travel 3 feet, correct?
Yes, sir.
And 2,
Yes, sir.
and 1.
Yes.
You also said that based on the GSR, you can put the gun in Ms. Clarkson's hand, correct?
No, sir.
Okay.
I said that the presence of copious gunshot residue on a hand is consistent with her having the guns in the hand. And I just used that and the other facts, the blood splatter plus the intraoral wound plus the tissue to come to my opinion. And I said it's not just one factor. It's you put all the factors together. Like it's assembling a puzzle, picture puzzle. One piece means nothing. You put it all together and you see the picture.
All right, and just a second ago in your answer, you said blood splatter. You do
Spatter.
realize that it's spatter. There's no L in the word spatter, correct?
Yes, but I have a thick New York accent, and I think occasionally my words don't sound the way they're supposed to.
And it turns the word spatter into splatter.
No, I think people have problems understanding me.
I see. I must have misunderstood, Doctor. All
Because he,
right, the three things that you just mentioned to this jury that in your mind puts the gun in Lana Clarkson's hand and not in Philip Spector's hand, if I can recap that answer, is the fact that it was an intraoral gunshot wound, the fact that she had back spatter on her hands, and the fact that she had GSR on her hands.
And she also has tissue up and down her arms.
Okay. You're aware that using those same criteria, that intraoral gunshot wounds can be homicides as well as suicides, correct?
Virtually never, less than 1%, even according to your own medical examiner, Dr.
Doctor,
Pena.
all I'm asking you is can and have you seen intraoral gunshot wounds as homicides?
Yes, sir, I've seen 3 in 37 years.
And so the answer is yes, doctor.
I said yes.
Okay. And back spatter was in fact on Mr. Spector's jacket as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
And Mr. Spector also had GSR on his hands, correct?
He had one particle.
Did Mr. Spector or did he not have GSR on his hands?
I said yes, sir.
Okay. And in fact, you told us yesterday, you told this jury yesterday, that the GSR on Mr. Spector's hand is also your words consistent with him firing the weapon.
Sure, any gunshot residue is consistent with the person firing the weapon or handling it.
So the answer is yes. The GSR on his hand is consistent with him having fired the weapon.
Yes, sir, but
All right.
she's got much more copious, and therefore the copious gunshot residue is more significant than one, because one can easily be a contaminant from either the air, from being handcuffed, or from being in the back of a police car.
And it also can be removed by the lapse of time, correct?
Yes, depending on the size of the particles.
It can also be removed by washing the hands, correct?
If you have any evidence of washing the hands, which there is no evidence.
Oh, we'll get to that in a second, doctor.
But there's no blood in the blood traps. So
You
you're
also
just
have-
speculating when you say that.
Sir, you're starting to go on way beyond what the question calls.
Sorry.
Please don't volunteer. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. It can be removed by washing hands, correct?
Yes, sir.
It can be removed by wetting hands, correct?
You have to get all your gunshot residue off. Usually, you have to vigorously wash the hands with soap and water.
Correct. So if in fact you just wet your hands, you might still see a couple of GSR particles after wetting your hands, correct?
You might, yes.
And of course you found, or you're aware that a couple of GSR particles were in fact found on Mr. Spector's hands, correct?
Only one specific particle was found.
One unique particle, doctor,
Yes, sir.
Correct.
You can use different terminology, different labs,
and one consistent particle, correct?
and one consistent, which means you're right. Yes.
And you're aware of what time Mr. Spector's GSR analysis was taken, or the sample was
It's
taken?
a few hours later. Yes, sir.
It was actually 2 hours later, wasn't it?
Right.
All right.
That's
And-
2 hours.
And the passage of time can in fact remove GSR from someone's hands.
2 hours should not. You should only use maybe a couple of the larger particles, but there should still be gunshot residue in 2 hours. You can get it out to 6 hours, easy.
And yesterday, when you were talking about the GSR, and I think we covered this yesterday, but since you brought it up again, I'll ask you to follow up on that.
Yes.
Yesterday, you indicated that to the jury that the GSR, in your opinion, was consistent with Ms. Clarkson having fired the weapon, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware that when she was shot, she was immediately incapacitated, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware that the cloud of GSR that would have covered her would have basically gone out in the cloud. I think you said GSR can sometimes travel I think you said 30 feet out of the muzzle, correct?
The studies conducted in Czechoslovakia have shown that gunshot residue from the front of the gun can go up to about 30 feet. Obviously, it didn't go out. In this case, the gun is in the mouth, so that's not. Going to the side, it can go 8 meters, which is about 24 feet. Going backwards, it can go about 9 feet.
You're familiar with the Journal of Forensic Sciences, correct?
Yes, sir.
Matter of fact,
I was
how is it-
editor. I was an editor on it. Don't forget.
Okay.
On the board of editors. Excuse me.
So that is a journal that you would consider to be a reputable journal in the industry?
Yes, sir.
Back in 1976, are you aware that J. Andrasko, that's last name is spelled Andrasko, a PhD, submitted a paper in the journal called Detection of Gunshot Residue on Hands by Scanning Electron Microscopy. You aware of that?
No, sir.
Are you aware of whether or not Dr. Androsky, I believe it's pronounced Androsky, Androsko, I apologize, doctor. Are you aware that Dr. Androsko published findings concerning the test firing of a weapon and the subsequent GSR results on a person's hands?
No, sir. Since I don't know the article, I can't be aware of what he published in it.
This is just a foundational question. I just want to know if
Yes,
that
sir.
rings any bells.
No, sir.
All right. Are you aware that in a paragraph called influence of rinsing and wiping the hands, he indicated,
Sustained to the way you're asking the question.
Your Honor, this is not being offered for the truth of the matter asserted, but to find out whether or not this has any impact on this witness's.
But by reading the article, you can certainly ask questions, just questions without quoting the article or quoting the doctor.
I won't quote the article then, Your Honor.
All right.
I'll refer to the article, doctor, and tell me if this is in compliance or it comports with your understanding of the general scientific community's understanding of GSR.
What year was it?
This is 1976.
So about almost 30 years ago. It's more than 30 years ago. It's 31 years ago.
Doctor, we can all do the math. All I'm asking you is if you're aware of the article.
No, okay.
All right.
And the senior author was?
The senior author was Androsko,
Okay.
PhD. Are you aware that he did a study wherein a firearm was discharged or a weapon was discharged and the shooting hand was rinsed with low pressure running water for a few seconds and then was wiped off with a cloth, a laboratory towel? I'm sorry?
I'm sorry.
And then a tape was used for collection immediately after this procedure. It was a test or lab environment. And GSR was in fact found on the hand.
Objection, hearsay.
Does that sound right?
I'm going to sustain the objection. By referring back to the article, you make it hearsay. If you simply want to use those facts without referring to the article as the basis of a hypothetical, you may do so.
In your opinion, based on this following set of facts, would you expect to find GSR on hands? All right, and the facts are discharge of a weapon in a laboratory environment, washing or rinsing the hands with low pressure water, wiping the hands on a laboratory towel, and then collecting GSR immediately after the process. Would you expect to find GSR on those hands?
You can. It depends. Some studies have shown if you wash with soap and water, you can get rid of it all. If you wash rinsing, there may be some residual. It just depends.
All right, hypothetically, if in fact within 2 hours of searching, of doing the experiment, only 2 particles consisting of lead, barium, and antimony were identified on hand, would you consider that to be consistent with the findings in this case? 2 particles found on Mr. Spector.
Objection, hearsay.
No, overruled.
You mean if he washed his hands the way it was done in the experiment?
If he rinsed his hands with low pressure running water.
Yes, but did he wash his hands? I mean, it's again, you're speculating.
I figured it out. I think I have figured it out. There's something that happens to their brains when they get on the witness stand. It prevents them from answering yes or no. It's the witness stand. That's what it is. There's something that happens when they sit in that chair. It affects their brain. and they can no longer answer just yes or no. They have to go off on these weird tangents. It's the chair. That's got to be it. Because it's the only place it happens. Every place else in the universe, they can say yes or no to a question. When they sit in that chair, they have to go off on 50 different tangents when they're asked a yes or no question. That has to be it. That's the only explanation.
Waiting that he did.
Actually, Doctor, I'm not asking you to tell me what I'm doing. Okay?
Yes, sir.
I'm asking some questions. All I want is your opinion.
Yes.
Right? So in fact, as your testimony yesterday, the GSR particles that were in Phil Spector's hands are in fact consistent with him having fired a weapon. Is that right?
If you can prove that he washed his hands.
So the only way, in your opinion, in your expert opinion, the only way that if he fired the weapon, that he could later, 2 hours later, be found with two particles on his hands, consistent and unique. The only way he could have that is if he actively and vigorously washed his hands. Is that your testimony?
No, sir. What I'm saying is that in Ms. Clarkson's hands, there's copious amounts. There's two particles on his hands, and there's no evidence that he washed his hands.
You're aware that there was a wet, bloody diaper found at the scene.
Yes, sir.
And it's, I assume, notwithstanding your example of some guy in Colorado on an autopsy table sitting straight up, I assume that your testimony is not that Ms. Clarkson could get up and walk around after she was shot through the neck and her spine was transected, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so she was immediately incapacitated, right?
Yes, sir.
All right.
No, she was immediately dead, actually.
All right, and there was a wet, bloody rag found at the scene, correct?
Yes, sir.
And that bloody rag had her blood on it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Indicating that somebody wet that rag and somebody put her blood on that rag, correct?
Yes, well, somebody, yes,
Yeah, and it certainly wasn't Miss Clarkson, was it?
that's correct.
And your understanding, it was Mr. Spector, correct?
I would assume so.
Okay, assuming that it was Mr. Spector who wet the rag, he had to wet the rag with something, I'm assuming using hands, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so in fact, there is evidence that Mr. Spector wet his hands while wetting the rag, correct?
No, sir.
So you believe that it's more reasonable, Doctor?
Sir,
Let me finish my
I
question.
I don't think he
I didn't.
finished his answer. You may finish your answer.
Sir, you can wet a rag without wetting your hands or washing your hands. I just did it this morning with a face towel. I ran water on it and I didn't wash my hands. Just because a rag is wet doesn't mean that you washed your hands.
Doctor, was there blood found at the scene other than on the wet rag and on Lana Clarkson's body?
There's blood found in a few places, yes.
Tell me where.
I think there was in the doorknob was one of the places. There was on the stairs.
So what did he do? Put the rag on a stick and hold it underneath the water? How? Okay, I'm done.
I think it was upstairs in a bathroom.
All right, and who, in your expert opinion, would have left that blood in various places in the foyer?
It would be Mr. Spector.
Okay, so Mr. Spector did in fact have blood on his hands, correct? At some point in the evening after Ms. Clarkson was killed, correct?
Yes.
And that blood all came back through DNA testing. It all came back to Mr. Spector, your client, correct?
Argument.
The term your client, take it out.
It all came back to Mr. Spector, correct?
No, it came back to Miss Clarkson.
I'm sorry, my mistake. All the blood came back to Ms. Clarkson.
Yes, sir.
All right, none of the blood came back to Mr. Spector, correct?
That's correct.
So he had her blood on his hands and he was moving throughout the house, correct?
It was suicide.
Yet you're also aware that when he was arrested, that no blood was found on his hands. You're aware of that, correct?
Yes.
Now, that's-
It doesn't mistake the evidence.
No, it does not. The objection is overruled.
Thank you. You're aware that no blood was found on Mr. Spector's hands after he was arrested.
Yes, sir.
As a matter of fact, when he was fingerprinted, et cetera, there's a specific, and my mistake, when he was tested for GSR, et cetera, there's a form that's filled out. And on that form, it indicates any blood on the hands, and it was written none seen.
Yes.
All right, you saw that report,
I don't remember it, but I'll take your word for it.
but you're aware of the existence of it.
I'll take your word for it.
All right, so if let's just walk through it. If Mr. Spector had blood on his hands after Ms. Clarkson was shot, and he moved through the house and transferred blood onto the doorknob, the latch bolt, the banister, upstairs on his jacket, and later here was found to have no blood on his hands, doctor, is it reasonable to assume, in your expert opinion, that Mr. Spector somehow wet, wiped, or washed his hands off?
Or he went to her aid, tried to wipe some blood off with the cloth, and then when he used the cloth, had some blood. He had blood in his pocket where he put his hand in. But there's no proof that he washed his hands because you checked the taps in the bathroom and there's no blood in the taps.
Doctor, there was an open toilet right next to the bloody rag, wasn't there?
Well, didn't your people check the toilet also?
Was there or was there not an open toilet right next to the bloody wet rag?
Yes, sir, but when people go to wash their hands, they usually wash their hands in a sink rather than washing in a toilet.
What if they just killed somebody, doctor?
I would still wash my hands in a sink. People are, your whole life is instilled that you don't wash your hands in a toilet. If you're in a daze or anything and you're going to wash your hands, you're going to do what you do every time of the day, which is automatic. You automatically go to a sink and wash your hands.
Unless you just killed somebody and want to minimize the trace that's left, correct?
Argument.
Now, given the previous answer, I'm going to allow a question.
Thank you. Unless you just killed somebody and you panic and you don't want to leave traces of blood in your sink. Isn't that right?
You'd have to be a master criminal. I really don't think he's a master criminal.
Again.
And I wouldn't wash my hands in the bathroom. I'd go outside, I'd use the hose or some place like that if I was going to do it.
All right.
I wouldn't use a toilet.
Well, you wouldn't. Maybe he would.
Again, the hallmark, Dr. DeMaio, of a credible expert is to ensure that when reciting facts of a case for your conclusion, you don't shade your testimony in any way, shape, form, or fashion toward one side or toward the other. Isn't that true?
That's correct.
And you wouldn't be doing that in this case, would you?
That is correct. But you also have to consider that when people put hypotheses or theories, and there's absolutely no proof of them, you can't consider them fact. If you say he washed his hands, you have to have some proof. I can't consider it as a fact because you want me to consider it a fact. There is no proof. If
The wet rag, in your opinion, is not proof that he wet the rag.
Yes, but we're talking about washing hands. There's no proof. When you tried to prove he washed his hands, you found out there was no blood in the trap in the sink. So you have absolutely no proof. No proof. You're speculating.
Is there any proof, Dr. DeMaio, that Mr. Spector wet his hands in any way, shape, form, or fashion?
There is no proof.
There's no proof that he wet the rag, in your opinion.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, someone had to wet the rag.
So you think wet the rag, Dr. DeMaio?
Right, but there's no proof that he washed his hands.
Dr.
There's
DeMaio,
no blood in the trap. I said it.
Your Honor, objection, this is non-responsive.
Well, some of it's non-responsive. If you want to object on those grounds, it's fine, but you're also crossing over each other. So go ahead and ask a question. Answer the question directly, Doctor.
I'm asking you a direct question, Dr. DeMaio. Is there proof in your mind, in your expert opinion, that Mr. Spector wet his hands the night of Lana Clarkson's death?
There is no proof.
There is no proof that he wet a rag, in your expert opinion.
Yes, there is proof.
So he wet the rag, in your expert opinion, without coming in contact with any water on his hands. Is that your testimony, Dr. DeMaio?
No, sir, but I said there was no proof that he washed his hands.
That's not what my question. I asked you if he wet his hands, Dr. DeMaio.
Probably there was some transfer of water, yes.
So
but
now there is evidence in your mind, or proof, as you put it, that he wet his hands, correct?
Sir, there's a difference between wetting your hands and washing your hands.
I
I'm
asked-
sure your mother, when you came home with dirty hands and told you to wash your hands,
I have never heard someone called sir so disrespectfully in my life.
and you dumped it under the water for a second.
It is non-responsive.
Dr. DeMaio, I asked you, did you not understand said there's no proof that he wet his.
Probably did because he wet the cloth. But then you asked me, did he wash the hands? And there's no proof. There's no blood in the trap, in the sink.
I actually didn't ask you if he washed his hands. Once again, and I'm going to try this for about the 5th time now.
Yes.
Is there in your...
Sustained in the form of the question.
I'll rephrase it, Your Honor. In your mind, in your expert opinion, Dr. DeMaio, is there proof that he wet his hands on the night of Lana Clarkson's death after she was killed?
All I could say is he probably would have gotten some water on his hands because if you wet a cloth, you can wet it without washing your hands. You probably get a little water on your hands.
And of course, that's what you think he did. He wet the rag without getting any water or any substantial amount of water on his hands.
Because there is no proof that he washed his hands. Your people took the traps apart in the bathrooms, and there's no blood there.
And of course, it's impossible in your mind that he would have used the open toilet 6 inches away from where the rag was found, correct?
Well,
Is it impossible?
nothing is impossible.
So it is possible that that's what he used.
Anything under the sun is possible, but it's not probable. People work mostly by instinct, and especially if you consider that they had done something really serious wrong. They're not sitting there and thinking of traps. I'm sure that most of the jury never even thought of checking traps. Well, maybe they saw CSI and they did, but traps looking for blood.
Well, Dr. DeMaio, let me just ask you this. How many people have you shot and killed?
Oh, I'm afraid not. Haven't killed anyone.
Right. So you have no idea what goes through one's mind when something like that serious happens.
No, but I've seen a couple of thousand people murdered, and I've seen how people react, and most people panic because people are not cold-blooded killers.
And when someone panics, it might be reasonable for, I don't know, take a rag and dunk it in the toilet, correct?
People work by instinct. People will go. The problem is you're introducing the toilet.
Objection. This is non-responsive.
Sustained.
Let's move back to your report, Doctor.
I'm sorry, jurors? Yes.
Your Honor, can the witness speak closer to the microphone?
Microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Not those. Those don't go to the jury. This one's there. Maybe if you use this microphone, pull it up.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize. I
Thank you.
apologize. Okay.
Let's get back to your report, Dr. DeMaio. One of the things that you mentioned in your direct testimony yesterday, Doctor, was about taking a history. It's important. You explained to the jurors that it's important for a...
Maybe he did it in the fountain. Did you think of that? Maybe it was in the fountain.
Forensic pathologist, just like it's important for an internal medicine doctor to take a history, a medical history. And you talked about how you did that utilizing Lana Clarkson's medical history, some of the history in her life, including emails, that is not necessarily about medicine. And then you talked about her career a little bit. I want to ask you about that. On the third page of your report, page 3, the second full paragraph, you posed the question, why would Ms. Clarkson have shot herself? And that's how you introduced that paragraph talking about her history, et cetera, correct?
Yes, sir. The only, Miss Clarkson, and based on the physical evidence, several feet away would be Mr. Spector.
Feet away.
Why do you say several feet away?
Due to the blood spatter and the widespread distribution of it. It's going from the top to the bottom,
And you've
which
already
means
indicated-
it's gone a far distance. You know, it's spread out. It's not concentrated in one small area.
As a matter of fact, you're aware that the blood spatter on his jacket came from about mid-breast to about below the pocket level
Yeah, it's about
of his jacket, correct?
2 feet, 2 feet.
2 feet total from top to bottom vertically, correct?
Right, and
Yeah.
which means there's widespread dispersion. It's not all concentrated in a close area, but it's been spread out.
And of course, you're not a bloodstain pattern analyst, correct?
No, sir, but I've seen blood spray come out of bodies at seams and on clothing.
Actually-
You can tell it's when it's widespread dispersion.
Okay, and I'm sorry, we sort of did a double negative. I asked you if you were not a bloodstain pattern analyst, and I asked correct, and you said no. Let me ask that again. Are you a bloodstain pattern analyst, just to clear up the record?
No.
Okay. You posed the question, knowing that there were 2 people in the room when Ms. Clarkson was killed, correct? You posed the question, why would Ms. Clarkson have shot herself, correct? In your report.
It's a rhetorical question,
Right.
right?
All I'm asking is, did you pose that question or did you not, Dr.
Yes.
DeMaio? And of course, you didn't pose the question, why would Mr. Spector have shot the victim, correct?
Because by that time, when I wrote the report.
First of all, I need an answer to the question before you explain it. Did you or did you not put in your report the rhetorical, as you put it, question, why would Mr. Spector have shot the victim? You didn't put that in your report, did you?
Because that was not the section of the report that I was addressing, the material having to do with Mr. Spector. I was
Okay.
addressing Ms. Clarkson at that time.
Doctor, this is a 4-page, make that 5-page report. Can you point me to the place in the report where you indicate the rhetorical question, why would Mr. Spector have shot Ms. Clarkson?
I didn't.
You didn't put that in your report,
I
did you?
didn't put that in the rhetorical, because by the time I had written the report, I had reviewed all the material, and based on the fact that it was an intraoral wound, the gun splatter, the tissue, and the gunshot residue, that it was in her hands, and therefore that he did not fire the gun.
So you had already-
Therefore, why put a rhetorical question to
Time
someone?
that you wrote the report.
Well, yes, of course.
Okay. Just making sure, Doctor. Would it make any difference to you in reaching your conclusion who the other person in the room was? If in fact, you find a dead woman in someone's foyer, would it make any difference who the other person was? Mother Teresa or Charles Manson?
Objection, Your Honor, argument.
Overruled.
If the physical evidence showed she shot herself, no,
You would just ignore who that other person is and any history behind that person, correct?
no, sir. What I said is if the physical evidence showed she fired the weapon, then what does it matter if even you were there?
And you indicated that, in fact, Dr. DeMaio, the physical evidence the GSR that you rely on is consistent with Mr. Spector having fired the weapon, as well as blood spatter being on his jacket is consistent with Mr. Spector being in the vicinity of the fired weapon, as well as intraoral gunshot wounds can be and have been homicides in the past, correct?
Sir,
Yes or no, doctor?
yes, sir, but
Thank
you're
you.
not, never mind.
With regard to Ms. Clarkson's medical history, you indicated in your report that, and I think you may have mentioned on direct examination with Mr. Plord, that you based your opinion in part on the fact that Ms. Clarkson was, in your mind, depressed and was taking medication for antidepressant, correct?
That she was taking antidepressants, but the thing is, her medical history.
Objection, this is non-responsive.
Okay.
Just a second. First of all, is there an objection? It may have been corrected by Mr.
I
Jackson.
think he was corrected, that's why.
Okay. You may go ahead and phrase your question.
No, I think that Duncan's still going.
Are you still answering?
If so, I forgot what the question is.
All right, let's move on.
Let's go on.
It's important, obviously, Dr. DeMaio, for any physician to take into account the truth of what the medication, any medication that someone has been prescribed, the truth about what it was prescribed for, correct?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, any physician would want to, any credible physician would want to make sure that they understood and explored the actual medication that was being taken and why it was being taken, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in your report, you indicate that Ms. Clarkson was taking the antidepressant Paxil, correct?
Yes, sir.
You're aware, of course, Dr. DeMaio, that Dr. Kudrow prescribed that medication not for depression, not having anything to do with depression, but rather for severe headaches, correct?
Hearsay, Your Honor.
Overruled. This is based how he's basing the medications, and it's contained in the records which he's reviewed.
Yes,
He is able to give an answer based on that. The objection is overruled.
Thank you.
yes, these drugs are also used for severe headaches, where you do.
Objection, this is not, anything beyond that is non-responsive.
Sustained.
Thank you. You're aware that Dr. Kudrow is a neurologist, not a psychologist.
I think he's also a psychiatrist too, if I remember his letterhead.
You're aware that
Excuse me, sir.
Go ahead and finish your answer.
I think the letterhead says that he's both a neurologist and psychiatrist. I think, I'm not 100% sure of it, but.
Are you speculating about that?
I'm not speculating. I'm trying to remember, sir.
Okay, well, let me see if I can help your memory.
Speculate.
Does
Well,
this
if we
sound-
could see his letterhead, we could tell.
Doctor, let me see if this refreshes your recollection. The name of the clinic is the California Medical Clinic for Headache and Neurological Research Institute, correct?
Right.
All right. And you're aware that he was not prescribing Paxil for depression. He was prescribing Paxil for headaches, correct?
Objection, Your Honor. Hearsay. I don't think that's what the record says.
I have reviewed those records at an earlier time, and I believe that is in the records. If I'm wrong, then we'll correct it at a later time, but the objection is overruled.
You're aware that, in fact, the records do indicate, Dr. Kudrow's records specifically indicate that he was prescribing Elavil and Paxil for headaches, correct?
He was giving it her for headaches, yes.
All right, so you knew that the Paxil was not prescribed for depression.
Let's see.
For it.
Yes.
Yet in your report, you indicated Ms. Clarkson was depressed and she was prescribed an antidepressant, correct?
Right. At the time, I thought she was being described for that. And then when I went back and reviewed the records, she was being given it for her headaches, for which there was no etiology.
So in fact, you wrote your report and came to your conclusions without a full knowledge of exactly what it was that you were writing about, correct?
In this instant, yes, sir.
Thank you. You reviewed her emails as well.
Yes, sir.
Who provided you those emails?
The defense, obviously.
The defense who? Which defense? I mean, the defendant or one of the lawyers or
Well, the attorneys, yes.
which attorney?
I have absolutely no idea. I mean, the records are shipped to me, and the material's in there. I don't remember who shipped the records.
And how many emails were you asked to review?
There was a whole bunch of emails.
Okay. And of course, you indicated on direct examination, and you even referred to them in your report, that there were certain emails where Ms. Clarkson indicated some level of angst, correct?
Objection, Your Honor.
Did he use those words?
That's my word.
Sure what that means.
Well, I do, so I'm going to overrule the objection. I think the doctor
That
understands.
she was not happy. She was down and out.
Oh,
Those are the
yes.
emails that you're talking about.
Yeah, she
All right.
says it a number of times.
Did
yeah.
you review all of her emails, Doctor?
Sure. Most of them are innocuous, that have nothing to do with it.
Were you-
And some of them said she was happy with her job.
I see. So some of the emails did in fact show a positive outlook and a happy outlook, correct?
Oh, yeah, they varied. And then there was others where she felt she was going to be kicked out of a house and that she didn't have any money, that she didn't have any skills.
Doctor, I'm not asking you about those.
Did not finish the answer.
Then it's non-responsive.
It is non-responsive to the question that was asked, so the objection by the prosecution is sustained. Yours is overruled.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Go ahead and ask another question.
So there were emails in which Lana Clarkson indicated that she was upset, correct?
Yes, sir.
And there were emails that indicated that she was happy and positive and looking toward a bright future, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The emails that were happy and positive were closer in time to her death, correct?
You're talking about the emails about her job.
No, I'm talking about emails in general.
Well, we're talking about, I wouldn't say they're close to time. They're all grouped about the same time. They can begin in December and January.
The emails that you talked about where she was upset, down, out, etc., coincided with her breaking her wrists a year earlier, correct? And some predated that.
No, sir. You're wrong.
Isn't it true that the emails that
No,
dealt
sir,
with
you're
her-
wrong.
Doctor,
I said no.
He hadn't finished asking his question, sir.
isn't it true that the emails that dealt with her being happy and responding RSVPing to parties and indicating that she was in a good mood, that she was looking forward to her job, that she was looking forward to the upcoming pilot season, that she was looking forward to having her headshots done, that she was looking forward to the infomercial, all of those emails were about December to February of 2002 to February of 2003, about the time when she died. Are you aware of that?
Overruled.
Are you aware of that, Doctor?
You're wrong, sir. The emails where she was saying she had problems were also in December. You're ignoring the emails that were in December, that where she did that. Do you want me to read the emails out to you?
Doctor, how about this? I'll read you some emails and I'll give you some dates. I'll read you some stuff from her computer and ask you if you remember the date.
Go ahead.
Do you recall Anne-Marie Donahue Crawford inviting Miss Clarkson to a birthday party, Lee's birthday, Leigh', Lee's birthday, and Lana Clarkson responding on February 2nd that she couldn't wait to go. And she signed it XOXO Lana, as in hugs and kisses, hugs and kisses.
Yeah, I think she
Lana.
signed all her things XOXO.
Did she sign, Doctor, do you understand my question?
Yes,
Did she
I
or did she not sign that document, XOXO Lana?
I assume so.
All right.
What I'm saying is I think she signed all of them XOXO.
I realize what you're saying, Doctor, and I'm asking you to answer my question. Did she or did she not?
I don't have it in front of me, so I
Okay,
can't
does
tell
that
you.
does it refresh your recollection that I just read that to you?
No, sir. it does
Okay.
not.
How about this one? Doctor, do you need a minute?
No, go ahead. I'm looking for the ones that in which are opposite
Well,
to the
Doctor,
ones
why
that
don't you answer
say.
the questions that I ask you, and if I ask you about something that you need to refer to, then you can refer to it.
Yes, sir. I'm waiting for your question.
You done? Okay. January 12th, 2003. Quote, "Be safe, sweetheart, and have fun!" Exclamation point. "I can pick up some hours assisting, so I'm not available this weekend after all. Doing a photography show at Pasadena Art Center."
Slow down, Mr. Jackson.
I apologize, Diane. "Doing a photography show at Pasadena Art Center. Looking forward to finally seeing your pretty face upon your return. Hugs and kisses, Lana, and midnight." Did you read that email?
I assume I did since I read them all.
Did you read the email on January 20th, 2003?
I can't.
I'm sorry.
I can't tell. I can't tell you because I don't have the dates in front of
Okay, if
me.
you can't tell me, just tell me so.
I
But let me
can't
ask
tell you,
this.
but I said I've read the emails. But you're cherry picking the emails.
Oh, wait, was I cherry picking the emails, Doctor? Or were you cherry picking the emails when you didn't tell this jury yesterday in direct examination that you reviewed emails where she was happy and positive and had a bright outlook? Were you cherry picking those?
No, sir.
Did you tell this
because-
jury about those?
Just a second, let him answer the question as to whether he was cherry picking.
As a physician, you analyze all of the symptoms. Anyone who knows depression knows that people go in and out. The emails that are significant are the ones when the person says they're depressed. And if it's cyclic and if it continues. Now, everyone, even if you're depressed, you have good times. And so you're doing that, but then there's emails in December
Objection, this is
and
not responsive.
February.
It's still, he's indicating, you asked the question whether he was cherry picking. He's explaining why he, in his mind, he did not.
Fine.
You may continue.
There's emails in December, there's emails in February telling about financial problems and things like that. And the thing is actually, when I first started my testimony, I said that if you look at the histories in both cases, they're a wash. On his side and her side, you can bleed anything you want on both sides. And that in this case, the only way you're going to settle this is with the physical evidence.
But they're swings. It's not like you're happy one day, you want to kill yourself the next. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Anyway, there's swings. It's like it'll be weeks or months that you're happy, and then weeks or months that you don't want to live. It's not one day and then the next day. It's not like sprinkled, it's blocks of time. So, unless you've experienced it, he's going to be misleading in the way he is explaining it. I don't think for 1 minute that she went back to his house with him thinking my life is over. I think she went back with him with the hope that he was going to help her career, because he wined and dined and made deals with important people in Hollywood. So I don't buy that she was depressed. I think the whole reason she went back to his house with him was because she had hope that he was going to help get her career picked up. So I just hope, well, I can't say I just hope there's a jury member because I know the result of the trial. But the way he's explaining it is going to confuse the jury if they don't have somebody on that jury that understands how depression works.
And that the history in this case, you have two histories, they're contradictory.
Objection, at this point, it's not responsive.
No, I still think, I realize it's a long answer, but based upon the question you asked him, I'm giving him an opportunity to explain why he mentioned certain emails and not others.
There's things, against Mr. Spector, there's things against Ms. Clarkson, and, bad things on both sides, good things on both sides. And in the end, you sit there and you say, I can't decide based on that. And so what you have to do is the physical evidence. So in this case, the history's washed. It's not going to help evidence. So looking at it back, what I can say, I can't tell from the either the testimony against Mr. Spector or the material about Ms. Clarkson. It's just kind of wash.
Then why yesterday, my question is, why yesterday did you, well, let me ask it this way. Did you yesterday, during direct examination with Mr. Plord, did you in fact tell this jury about the positive emails that you were obviously very familiar with, Doctor? Did you or did you not?
No, because they're not significant medically.
Okay. So only that the ones that are negative in your mind yesterday were significant to tell this jury about.
They're significant medically. But I also told the jury in the beginning that I felt that these histories on both sides are awash, and that the decision has to be made on the physical evidence, not on the stories.
And you didn't, Dr. DeMaio, tell the jurors about the positive emails, just like you didn't tell the jurors the second part of that GSR analysis, which is the GSR is just as consistent with Mr. Spector firing the gun as Ms. Clarkson. Isn't that true?
No, sir, I did not say that.
So in fact, wait, you didn't say what?
I did not say that.
You didn't say what, Doctor?
Excuse me, you said, is it just as consistent? I did not say it's consistent, just as consistent. Don't forget, she has copious amounts of gunshot residue. He has one particle. Therefore, you asked me, is it possible for him, for someone to fire a gun and just have one particle? And I said, yes. But I did not say it's just as likely.
And yesterday, it required me on cross-examination to ask you, because you didn't inform this jury that it was consistent, the GSR that was found on his hands were consistent with him firing the weapon. Just like today, you didn't, or yesterday, you didn't indicate to this jury that there were positive emails. You only indicated that there were negative emails. Isn't that true? Was that your testimony?
Overruled.
I analyzed the emails like a physician.
The question is, did you present, Doctor?
I'm sorry.
Did you present anything of the positive nature in your own testimony? Calls for yes or no.
No.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I have just one more, Your Honor?
Yes.
Okay. You indicated in going through your direct examination that you came across a letter from that was written to Dr. Kudrow, wherein and this is on the headache indication, the headache topic, where Ms. Clarkson said that she was at the end of her rope. Do you recall that?
To Ms. No, the letter to Dr. Kudrow?
That's what I'm asking you about.
Right.
When you testified.
I don't think that doesn't say that at the end of the rope.
I'm not asking you what the letter says, doctor. We're going to get to what the letter says. I'm asking you what your testimony yesterday was.
I can't tell you what I said about.
You can't remember saying to this jury that you recalled documentation by Ms. Clarkson where she indicated that she was quote unquote at the end of my rope.
I may have said it, but it's not in Dr. Kudrow's. It would have to be in something else.
And of course, you're aware, Dr. DeMaio, that phrase had absolutely nothing to do with suicidal ideation. You're aware of that, correct?
Well, let's find the phrase, and let's see.
No. I'm not asking you to do some research up on the stand, Dr. DeMaio. I'm asking a simple question. When you said yesterday in your direct examination to Mr. Plourd's question that you reviewed certain documentations that indicated that Ms. Clarkson said she was at the end of her rope, were you suggesting to this jury that that was some kind of suicidal ideation? Yes or no?
No, I said that she's depressed.
Okay. And
That's what it means.
In fact, when she said, I'm at the end of my rope, she's talking about which medications she needs to try to start taking to get rid of headaches. Isn't that true?
I think you're going to have to show me that document, sir, before I can answer that question.
How about if I show everyone the document?
What is it?
I think I'm going to have to mark it, Mr. Plourd. I can't, that's what I was asking. I can't remember if this has been marked. I know you don't want us to duplicate, but
That's where, I think we have duplications. This is 156.
thank you. Do you need a second?
Maybe if you could show the list.
Sure. That was the smartest thing that's been said all day. I gotta press the button. If I knew that, Chris, I would have done it. Go back.
Your high-priced technical advisor is now present to press the button.
That's right. There we go. That's fine. Can you please? Thank you. Yeah, Coach.
You may.
Doctor, this is the copy that I've got. And if you want to take a second to prove that, I'm going to need that back in just a second because I can't see that well enough to read it.
Okay, let's go ahead and stop there. And thank you, Carla, for that. That was good information because I only know from my experience how my depression works. And mine are it's like blocks. It's like I'll be happy for, months and months and months, and then it'll be just like a week to a month of just leave me alone, don't mess with me, don't talk to me. It's the end of the world. Everything is wrong. It's awful. And then I just have to like push through it and keep going, pretend it's not happening. And sometimes I can't. And I just shut everything else off and out. And it's gotten, I think, twice in my life it's gotten to like nervous breakdown point. I've never been hospitalized or anything like that, but have gone through the, let's change your medication, let's, the normal depression things that happen, when medication isn't working, okay, let's try something else. And so yeah, I guess I don't know if it's milder than most. Like I said, I've never been hospitalized. I've been on several different antidepressants over the years. Um, and the one that I'm on now, I've been on for a very long time. We've had to increase the dose over the years, but for the most part, it's been really well. It's worked really well. And for the most part, I'm stable. I have noticed though, um, that is one thing I have never done. I'm so sorry that happened to you. I've thought about it many times. I've never done it, which I have learned from my doctor that that's called passive ideation. So it's basically is wanting to do that, but just not going through with it. So it's just as it qualifies as wanting to, even though I never went through with it. So um it's like I would never do it to myself, but if it happens, I'm good with it, like basically it's not having any self-preservation, like yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's like that with kind of all chronic illnesses. Like your acute type stuff, like appendicitis, tonsillitis, gallbladder, those type of things is pretty much the same in everybody. Like, oh, I have a pain in my side, and you do the little for gallbladder. It's called the Homan's test. You push where your gallbladder is and tell someone to take a deep breath, and if they get a sharp pain while you're pushing, and when they take a deep breath, they get a sharp pain. That's your gallbladder. That happens in everybody with a bad gallbladder. But other things aren't that across the board. Like same with your appendix. If you push in that one spot, I forgot what it's called. It has a name. I forgot it. And then you let go really fast and you get a sharp pain, that's your appendix. So acute things like that is pretty much across the board the same. But chronic illnesses that are like long term with people, those are the things that are like different for everybody. So yeah, I've heard that manic phase is much worse than the depression because you can't sleep and you're just like, you wear yourself out because you're just go, go, go all the time. I would hate that. Actually, one of the antidepressants they put me on made me manic. And like, but it wasn't, I don't think it was like bipolar manic because it would happen fast. I'd be like manic, depressed, manic, depressed, manic. Like I would be the life of the party one minute and the next minute I'd be sitting in the corner crying. It was like super switch fast. Okay, so we need to jump over to the next stream. I think I set it to redirect, but it seems like 7 something this morning when I set it up was forever ago, even though it was only 2 hours. So I don't remember. So I will see you over there if you're going. If not, I will see you again in the morning for more Phil Spector. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Bye.